Cooper. Cooper with a great chance. Cooper must make it four. He does.
The full-time review show this Sunday evening is brought to you and supported, as it always is, by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental, and also by Craig International, a truly global procurement company who have 10 offices strategically placed all over the world. They are redefining global procurement as we now know it. They have offices in Australia, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, the European continent, home in Aberdeen, and in America as well. And if you get a moment, please check out their brand new website. These are the scenes ahead of kickoff yesterday. My thanks to Paul Hannon for sending me through this video. A fantastic away support, as always, to cheer the Dons on. Sadly, we could not replicate the great scenes off the pitch, on the pitch, and ended up drawing a very tame 0-0 with St Johnstone. Thank God for our former management duo of Tony Docherty and Derek McInnes. Kilmarnock getting a late equaliser against Hibs, and Dundee beating Dundee United for the first time in years at Dundee United today in what was a cracking game at Tannadice. So we remain in fourth position, just a point behind Hibs, and 2 points above Dundee United. Hearts currently in sixth position. That's what it looks like as we stand. The newspapers this morning, this is what they had to say. My thanks to @DonsCollector on X for putting this montage together for me. Saints and Dons fight out frantic and scrappy stalemate. And I can't believe that a word quality was used in a headline. Yimmies, quality control. Aye. Hi everybody, how you doing? A very warm welcome to Ali Beg ABTV this Sunday night. This is the full-time review show as we look back on yesterday's Yawn Fest at McDermott Park. Andrew Budge is going to be here a little bit later to go through the analysis for you. And it makes for very interesting reading, and I really hope you'll enjoy it. It's about 11 minutes long. We've gone into quite a bit of detail about where St Johnstone set up to make life very difficult for us, and where professional football players can't use their weak feet. It just begs belief. Weak feet, weak foot. Let's put it that way. But on a brighter note, today's the 16th of March, and it's a significant day in the club's history. And we're going to be looking back on two very famous victories, which I hope you will really enjoy. I've got two very special sound bites coming up for you a little bit later to reminisce about a very special evening that happened this day back in 1983. But we shall concentrate on the St Johnstone game first of all. The team news from yesterday, I think it's fair to say that it surprised everybody, because not many people was expecting Jack McKenzie to start at left back. Alfie Dorrington continues to play alongside Knurstas, with Crystal still out injured. So it meant that the skipper came back in and he took his usual place on the left-hand side of midfield to play alongside Ante Palaversa. Shaden Morris started again, but sadly was rather ineffective in the game. Got marked out the game, I thought. Uday Debag through the middle with Toppy on the other side, and Kevin Nisbet, who hustled and bustled and had a couple of opportunities. But we only tested the goalkeeper on 3 occasions during the match, which I will show you a little bit later. In fact, let's do it now, because here are your match stats. I want to just get this out of the road. 56.7% of possession, and we didn't do much with it, let's be honest. 11 shots in total, of only which 2 were on target. Touches inside the box, 20. The goalkeeper was forced to make 3 saves. For me, that's just simply not good enough against a team who are bottom of the league. So what we'll do is we'll get Andrew on first. We'll get the analysis done so that you guys can react to it. And then I'll get you guys on the other side, and then we'll start reminiscing about days gone by. So welcome back to the show, as always on a Sunday night. Andrew Budge. Hi, mate. It's good to see you as always. Thank you for jumping on. Okay, so we've got quite a lot to look at today in terms of how St Johnstone actually made it very difficult for us throughout the 90 minutes yesterday, and also where professional football players really need to have 2 feet in the modern game, and we'll come to that in just a moment. But first, let me get your thoughts on the team news, because when the team broke yesterday about 10 to 3, I was baffled at the fact that Leighton Clarkson was dropped down to the bench. I can't make head or tails of that decision at all. Can you?
No, it's a surprising one for me too, to be honest. I thought he's been really good in recent weeks, really positive. We commented on his range of passing last week against Queen's Park, and he often can be that creative spark to unpick a really tough low block like St Johnstone were yesterday. So I was a bit of a baffling one for me, and I thought overall it was a pretty disappointing performance where we lacked creativity and we lacked any sort of real cutting edge to create meaningful chances. And I think Clarkson would have been a really positive impact from the start yesterday, unfortunately.
It was just flat, wasn't it? There was just this
Yeah, very
real
flat.
flat feel about the game.
I can't put my finger on it because I thought we really had a clear sort of game plan last week.
Yeah.
We were trying to get those 1v1s for Morris, and we were really sort of pushing our players to one side of the pitch and looking for these diagonals. Whereas yesterday, I just didn't think we had much direction about us. And we resorted in the end to quite a lot of long balls and diagonals that just weren't as effective as they were last year because I just don't think we had as much direction. So, yeah, a really flat performance, and hopefully we can sort of just put that behind us and just move on to the next game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Motherwell now after the international break. All right, so as we always knew and as we always expected, at McDermott Park, St Johnstone are going to make it very difficult for us. And you've found a graphic here which conveys exactly that message. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so for the first thing we're going to pull up is just, I think it's a really good way to sort of analyse another team's shape or approach is look at their average position chart. So what we can see here really clearly is how compact that St Johnstone were yesterday. So they lined up in a sort of 3-4-3 shape out of possession, and you can just see how many players they're flooding the central areas of the pitch with. They've got their 3 forwards who are really narrow, and the 2 central midfielders as well, almost create a sort of cluster of 5 in the centre of the pitch. And what that means is this really nullifies any threat we had from central areas. They were pretty happy to give us the ball for large spells of the game yesterday. I think we had way over 60% possession, but they just really funneled us into these wider areas and made sure we didn't go anywhere central. So I thought they had a really good, clear game plan. I didn't think they offered much from an attacking standpoint. But yeah, as you mentioned, we've got a really good example of just showing how that sort of defensive block looked on the pitch. So when we put up the first sort of screenshot, you can really see how narrow they are. They've got that front 3 and the 2 central midfielders behind them. And what that did, it just gave it really overcrowded the central areas and just gave Palaverse and Sinead no opportunity to really collect a pass or really impact the game. They often wouldn't even sort of take the ball in the half turn either because they were just so closely marked by the 2 central midfielders who pushed up really high. So I think they had really good shape out of possession, St Johnstone, but we didn't do enough to sort of pull them apart, which we'll come on to. I just didn't think we had the sort of creativity, and as you mentioned earlier, maybe a Clarkson would have sort of been the sort of bit of impact into the game that we were looking for to try to break them down. But yeah, really good from St Johnstone, but yeah, unfortunately, pretty passive from us.
Yeah. Um, Dimitar Mitov collected the ball an awful lot yesterday, and we were forced to play the ball out from our own 18-yard box a lot yesterday. I thought Max Knuster had an excellent game yesterday. In fact, to be honest with you, we're looking really quite solid at the back. But going forward and playing out from the back, there were times when I just felt we looked almost a little bit lost. And you've picked a really good example here of possibly where the lads need to think a little bit more about their positioning to be able to offer themselves for a pass.
Yeah, and even just to comment on what you said there, defensively, I thought we did look pretty solid. So I do completely agree with that. And for one positive, another clean sheet. So I'm happy with that. It's the sort of game we would have contrived to have lost about a month or two ago. So some positives, I would say. But yeah, as you mentioned, we really just in possession, we did struggle to break them down. And I think part of that is just due to our positioning. And I think we were just weren't aggressive enough with our starting positions for a lot of our players. So what we can see in this example here is Mitov is really deep in his own penalty box, and you can see sort of him asking for the ball, Kneuster pointing back to the goalkeeper. But with Jensen in possession there, I just don't really think you want to be passing back to your goalkeeper, especially when you're getting pressed
Yeah.
so heavily by St Johnstone. So I think, as we've indicated in the screen, I think Mitov needs to be edge of his box, pushing higher. I appreciate it looks a bit more risky. Your keeper's not on their goal line, but if we're going to pass through them here, the goalkeeper is going to be a spare man in possession, and we almost need to use him as a passing outlet to sort of break this press from St Johnstone. If he moves up higher, as we indicated there, Canuster can go further up on the left. And then there's a whole bunch of spur, clear bit of space on the left-hand side of the pitch where Jensen could either give it to Mitov, who can play it left, or he could just directly switch the play himself. So I think we do need to be a lot smarter and a lot more aggressive in how we try and break down different defensive blocks. And I think that just more sort of switches of play and just being a bit quicker on the ball and just having more options would be really, really helpful. So yeah, I think one to learn from, but there are still some positives.
Yeah. Okay. So professional football players not having 2 feet in the modern game for me is almost criminal. It's one thing that I've really been drumming into my own kids because it got drummed into me when I was a player that I was predominantly right-footed, but there were going to be occasions where I needed to use my weaker foot, which was my left foot. So I worked on that. And I'm even now getting my kids to work on their weaker feet or their weaker foot because I think it's vitally important. And we've got two perfect examples here where not using the weaker feet has actually worked against us. The first one being Shaden Morris.
Yeah, it is unbelievable to see professional footballers just so cautious and so unwilling to use their weak foot. It's unbelievable. As you said, I imagine it's something either you have it drummed into you from an early age, or if you're not confident on it, it's something you work on the training pitch. It's baffling stuff. Yeah, as you said, I thought in the few instances we managed to sort of get into attacking areas, we were just too timid in front of goal, and that often borne out in just like an unwillingness to use your weak foot or just have a go on goal. So as you mentioned, in this particular example, Morris gets played through on goal. Really good sort of play from Dabo, and I think it was Keskin to put him through on goal in the left wing. He's got a decent sort of opportunity to either have a shot on goal with his left or cut it back into a really good area where you can see Jensen arriving at the back post. But he really sort of awkwardly kind of changes his body position to go all the way around the ball to get it back onto his favoured right foot. And it just completely slows down the play. It allows a sort of defender to get back into position. And again, then they block it and goes for a corner. But I think like when there's a game that's got so few attacking opportunities, you really need to be acting on instinct. And we just weren't doing that yesterday, unfortunately.
3 shots is, we forced their goalkeeper, as I said in the stats earlier, to make 3 saves. 3. For me, it's absolutely criminal against the team that's bottom of the league that we've only been forced to make their goalkeeper make 3 saves. For me, it's just have a go. When there's when an opportunity presents itself, just have a smash at it. And Toppy Keskin, I was screaming at him yesterday during the watch-along show to just hit it. And I understand to a degree why he kind of tried to change his own body shape to get onto his favoured foot. But in a split second, when you know you're only going to have that moment, just have a pop. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, it really was. As you said, I can kind of understand why he tries to, but when you're getting into the later stages of the game and it's still no, it wasn't working for us, you've just surely got to have an attempt and just have a crack at goal.
Yeah.
I think the quality of goalkeeping in the league isn't hugely high or isn't that great. So, I mean, having shots on goal, particularly from in the box, even if it's with your weaker foot, you're just giving yourself a chance. If we don't, like we show in this example here, Keskin does get played through and he's sort of just similar to Morris, jumps over the ball just to sort of awkwardly change your body position, really slow the play down, and you're just not giving yourself a chance to have attempts on goal. And as you said, if you've only got 3 a game on target, like you're going to have really limited chances to actually win games. So it's something we really need to work on. I would really like to think the players are sort of spending time improving their weak foot if they're not confident on it. But yeah, it's definitely one I'd like to see a bit of improvement in going forward and just maybe acting on instinct a bit more and taking sort of shots at goal where it might not seem like the most optimal sort of route to goal sometimes, but you just got to have a chance and take a shot. So yeah, I'd like to see more of that going forward. But yeah, very frustrating.
So we've got the international break now for a few days. Then obviously we come back against Motherwell at Pittodrie. Sometimes I get frustrated with international breaks because we either seem to be getting up a little steam of momentum and then the break hits us, or we go into it. There never seems to be a sort of a pattern. It's always we go into it off a decent run of form, or we go into it not playing so well, and you sometimes wonder, well, maybe this international break has come at a good time now, where we can just sort of take stock, reflect on what's going on. The players that go away, they go away, but those that stay at home can really start working on the training ground. So I'm just wondering, has it come at a good time or a bad time for us?
I'm going to think a good time. I'm going to stay positive. A lot of players coming back. So Polvara back recently. We've got Milne back. We saw Sockler come on yesterday. So I'd like to think that gives them an opportunity just to get a bit more up to speed. I appreciate they probably won't be playing games. They might have a few bounce games, but that's a good opportunity for them to get some sort of bit more like rhythm and momentum in their game. So I think it does come at a good time. I really would like to see sort of an improved performance against Motherwell at home with a lot more sort of identity and sort of a clear idea of how we want to sort of break them down, because I'm sure they'll be just as difficult as St Johnstone. But yeah, hopefully a good time for the break and we can just reset and go into a really sort of crucial last couple of games before the split.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, fella, brilliant as always. Thank you so much. So enjoy the next few days and we'll see you after the Motherwell game.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, Ali.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I think like how the game went, like is a fair point. We wanted more. We defend well. Dimmy did a really good save in the first half, but then we defend well as a team. We didn't have really the quality today to in the last third to create the chances or put more balls to our strikers to try to score. We didn't create enough to deserve to win. We have some opportunities, but it's not too many. So I think the game gets quite locked, and both teams defend well. So it's not really that open game. In the middle part was quite open, but around the boxes, both teams defend really well. And we tried. We have to do a little bit more to deserve to win. We have a good away support today, and we couldn't give them that extra punch in the last part of the game, so that we need to win games. So now we have to reload and recover and national break and come back stronger against Motherwell at home at Pittodrie.
Thanks to Andrew Budge, and also thanks to the football club for allowing me to use that video of the manager who spoke to Rob McLean at McDermott Park yesterday. Right, guys, so before we move on to happier things, let's get you on, because I know there's lots of you watching tonight, and it appears that you're not very happy. So, Paul Donaldson came on and said, "Hi, Ali and all dandies. Yesterday was the worst football match I've been to in years. St Johnstone played for a 0-0 draw. We seem totally incapable of breaking teams down who sit in. It's a miracle that we are still somehow fourth in the table and only 1 point behind third." Graham Gibbs says, "Sad indictment of the standard of our league this season. Hard work, endeavour and organisation by the team that is bottom of our league, and we had no quality to play through them. Shocking." Colin Gale says, "Although I would like to think we will make the top six, I fear that we will not make it to third spot. The team are struggling to produce any quality or tactics to change things." Norman Baker says, "I want JT to tell us why we were so uninspiring and what he's going to do about it." Gordon Keith Ritchie says, "Poor game yesterday. St Johnstone set out their stall for a 0-0. History tells us we can't break a defensive team down. But now to secure a top six place and see where that takes us." Norman came back to say, Norman Baker, I beg your pardon, said the team selection looked good, except we should have played Clarkson. So it looks to me like an attitude or confidence thing. David Horn is on, wishing you all a good evening. David Goldralli is also on, as is Bruce Struthers, as is Suze, as is Barry Cool, who says another poor performance. Martin Smith says, really uninspiring performance, no creativity, and lost so many second balls in midfield, not allowing us to build up any type of pressure. Ewan Sutherland said the defence was reassuringly compact yesterday, but Palaversa was taking a lot of stick from the fans. He was so careless in possession, and his ball retention stats must be awful. Bruce Struthers says, disappointing result yesterday. St Johnstone an average team at best, and we should be beating them if we want to finish third. Sheep on Fire said, first half was terrible, and although we stepped up a little in the second, why do we try and walk the ball into the net when we have a chance to shoot? So frustrating. I tell you what was frustrating yesterday. Our first few corner kicks and set pieces. My God. I was ready to absolutely lose my mind yesterday at none of us being able to beat the first defender. It was absolutely shocking. And what I'm also starting to get slightly concerned about is that we are a work in progress. And this is what Yumi keeps saying, that we're a work in progress. But at the moment, I'm not seeing any progress. We seem to take 10 steps forward and then 20 steps back. And it is becoming a concern. Yesterday was simply not good enough. It's not acceptable. And I mean this with the greatest respect to St Johnstone, but we should not be drawing 0-0 with a team that's bottom of the league. We should have enough creativity to break them down. We should have enough about us tactically to be able to break them down. The subs that came on yesterday, all of them were completely ineffective. All of them. I know Esther's only just come back. I appreciate that. He'll need time to get over that injury, all that kind of stuff. I get that. Get up to match speed. But they were so ineffective. And it's got to be addressed. Dear God. Scott McLean says, did we wait all match for St Johnstone to push out and press us so we could do our thing, transitions, etc.? Well, that was never going to happen, and we had no plan B. Frustrating. Richard Wilkinson's on. Hi, fella, how are you? He says, utter rubbish yesterday. Have we really improved year on year? Hugh Byrne says, shockingly poor performance. Where's the identity? The press and the counter press. Yimi needs to be pressed on these matters at the press conference. Neom says, evening dandies, that was awful yesterday. No idea whatsoever. We are never up for it. Musical Box is on saying hi. Can't be bothered says, I still don't see why we have to play two holding midfielders against teams like St Johnstone. I completely agree. I don't get it. I don't understand why he dropped Leighton Clarkson. Ryan is on wishing you all a good evening. Xander Moore's here. He says, fair snooze fest. Queues at the kiosks were that bad. Me and a pal couldn't even get to the back of the queue. The supporters bus was probably the most lively part of the day. Robin the Bold says, we looked good against Queen's Park. Is that our level? Hugh Byrne says, bringing Mackenzie back in for Shinnie at left back was an act of sheer folly. Musical Box says, we got lucky this weekend with Hibs and Dundee United dropping points. Hayden Ritchie says, missed a great chance to go back to third. Abysmal performance. Sheep on Fire says, Graham Shinnie is just not right in midfield. His legs are just not up for it anymore. David McLennan says, it was hoofball snooze fest. David Gold says, need more energy and drive in the middle. Shinnie has the passion and desire, but not the legs. Hugh Burns says, the pitch was poor, but that's zero excuse. St Johnstone were murder also. Rod Cow says, I'm surprised Clarkson didn't earn a start along Palaversa yesterday. Musical Box says, Palaversa is a talented player, but his passing is pretty spotty and his crosses are unreliable. Michael Taylor says, good evening to everybody. Disappointed with the result yesterday, although with Hibs dropping points and United getting gubbed, it doesn't feel as sore. James Jappy says, not to forget, this is part next season's squad. You're quite right, mate. That's what's worrying me. Kilted Warrior is on saying hi. Martin Smith says, not having a shot is down to player mentality and being told to keep possession unless it's a clear-cut opening, better coaching needed there. Michael Taylor said, I would have expected Toppy to release the trigger and rifle the ball home. It was a strange decision. Scott McLean suggests, were we more cautious with our passing game because the pitch was like a tatty field? Kaiser's on, wishing you all a good evening. He says we had absolutely no cutting edge. See the way the defence parted for their chance in the first half. The defence is still woefully inadequate. Thank God for Dimitar Mitov's very important save at the beginning of the first half. Barry Cole says summer recruiting is going to be very interesting. Noel McCanally says, I was working at McDermott Park yesterday at the Turnstiles and was big upping my team to the other staff until that team turned up. Completely embarrassing. We play at our opposition level. It was awful. Kaiser says there's absolutely no intensity to our play whatsoever. Andy B said, a good initial graphic by Andrew. We struggle against that shape. All our players are easily marked. Right, we'll come back to your comments, but let's start enjoying the 16th of March because it's a very special date in the Aberdeen Football Club calendar. First of all, 11 years ago, can you believe this was 11 years ago already? We won our last domestic trophy, beating Inverness Caledonian Thistle on penalty kicks after an absolutely appalling 120 minutes. So the picture on the right is that's the picture of Russell Anderson, who sent this to me, who kept the trophy overnight, and that was the trophy in his kitchen at home. It was a fantastic day out. I was very lucky to be there with my brother and my former father-in-law, and it was just, 40,000 Aberdeen fans there. It was just absolutely magnificent. You know, the tifo at the beginning of the game as the players walked out onto the pitch is like something I've never ever seen before. It was absolutely magnificent. We had a brilliant day. Came all the way over from Qatar for the final as well. Delighted we got over the line. You know, when Adam stuck his penalty away, you know, the emotions were absolutely unbelievable. It was fantastic. Just a shame it was just an awful, awful game of football. But 42 years ago today, something happened at Pittodrie, and there was a rather iconic commentary line that went with it.
Pittodrie goes berserk.
Of course, we beat Bayern Munich, the mighty Bayern Munich, by 3-2 at Pittodrie after trailing at one point 2-1 in the game. It was quite simply Pittodrie's greatest ever night. If you were lucky enough to be there like I was 11 years old when I was there. It is a game that I will never, ever forget as long as I live. I've spoken about it before. What I do now is I use these games as a means to remember my late parents. I was with my mum and dad that night. We were sat a few rows up, just to the right of the players' entrance. It was a fantastic view. It was a fantastic view of watching the players. The only issue we had was I personally had a huge pillar in front of me which obstructed the Merkland or the paddock end goal. So I couldn't quite see. And at that time, back then, I didn't quite understand the away goals rule. And I remember coming in at half time and queuing for a pie with my dad and asking him about the scoreline as it stands. And he was trying to explain to me that at the time, at half time, you know, we needed to score again because Bayern Munich were winning on the away goal. So I was a wee bit confused about it all. Mathematics wasn't my strongest point. And when Hans Flugler scored their second goal, I was really confused. But that 1 minute with 12 minutes to go is something that words just can't describe. To see John McMaster and Gordon Strachan's free kick routine for Big Ek to score was just unbelievable. Let's go back to Neil Simpson because his equalising goal was pivotal. Not long before half-time. It got us back into the game. It started to give us belief. It lifted the stadium after Klaus Augenthaler scored that sensational opening goal. And I've actually got a little soundbite for you from Neil Simpson who explains to you that goal. Here he is.
My memories of my goal against Bayern Munich are pretty clear.
Matt McGee put a fantastic cross to the far post, and Eric, as he did so magnificently, rose above everyone else, knocked it down. Augenthaler took a bad touch right at the 6-yard box, and I made a late run right into the box, and then there was the ball just right in front of me. So obviously I'm a 50-50 with Klaus Augenthaler, and for me it was an opportunity to score in a European Cup Winners' Cup quarter-finals, and thankfully I managed to force the ball home with great delight for myself and all the supporters.
Thank you, Neil, for sending me that video. So getting back to the equalising goal, again, it came at such an important time of the game because, you know, the manager made a tactical switch just before that. If you remember, he brought off Stuart Kennedy and he put Big Doug Rugby to right back. And if my memory serves me correct, he put John McMaster over to left back. And Stuart Kennedy refused to come off. And the manager went absolutely mental with him, yanked him off the park eventually. Big Doug went to right back. And what's a real shame is that the television cameras don't quite pick up the long ball from John McMaster that Eric Black got on the end of to head down, obviously for the keeper to save, for then John Hewitt to put the ball in the back of the net. But it was a tactical genius. It really was. It was a moment of genius to be able to do that. And of course, Big Ek, with that sensational header, got us back into the game. And here he is explaining that very goal.
Hi there, Alec McLeish describing my 1983 equaliser against the mighty Bayern Munich in the European Cup Winners' Cup. It looked like a botched up free kick from Gordon Strachan and John McMaster, but it was in fact well planned by the two great coaches, Alec Ferguson and Archie Knox. I managed to get my head on the end of it, and 1 minute later John Hewitt scored the winning goal to take us to the semi-finals of the Cup Winners' Cup, which we went on to win against the mighty Real Madrid. Thank you.
I just wonder if that game will come up in conversation between Alex McLeish and Willie Miller a week on Friday at Ardor House Hotel. If you haven't got your tickets, get them, because it's going to be a fantastic night. You can get them via thelongest40.com or Eventbrite, who are supporting the Beats and Cancer Charity Fund. I can't wait to be home. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic night, and I really hope you can be there. Right, I want to get some of your comments in about Bayern and about the League Cup final. Right. Any comments come in? A lot of people are saying, well done to Newcastle today. Watch that. Wasn't it brilliant? Right, where are we? Any comments on the night? Come on. Ah, yeah, there we go. So Ryan Ellington says about the League Cup final. Absolutely remember that day like yesterday. Remember watching that game. Absolutely brilliant squad, including Russell Anderson and the great Derek McInnes. Oh no. Scott McLean says, I can't believe my dad offered me a ticket for that game, but I didn't want to miss the boys' brigade. Oh, fella. Ryan Ellington says, Ali, you should be proud that you were one of the lucky ones to go to that match with your parents. Oh, mate, you have no idea. You have no idea. Sequentia says, I was there in the beach end with my dad, aged 12. Never forget the noise. Robin the Bold said, was in the beach end that night. We won't see the likes again. Barry Cole says, Jock Brown said they both confused each other, then said it from the training pitch. Graham Gibbs says the best atmosphere ever at Pittodrie. The noise on the third goal, the roar. Hugh Burns says it was a crazy game. Those final 13 minutes will leave with me forever. Barry Cole says, I never went to the game. My dad and brother did. When they came home, they had to peel the shirts off their backs. Said it was the best atmosphere ever at Pittodrie. Sequentia says, we'll also never forget the excitement of going 2-0 up so quickly against Watershy. Was in the paddock that night. Do you know, that was the only game, home game, that we couldn't get tickets for. Couldn't get tickets for it. We missed it. I was absolutely raging with my dad that he was able to get his tickets for that. Deary me, the naivety of childhood, eh? Martin Smith says, was there in the South Stand. Most electric atmosphere ever. Never forget that feeling. Ryan Ellington says, also remember going to the 2014 parade with my mum and dad. It was horrible weather, but it didn't stop us from celebrating our heroes. Kaiser says, in regards to the Bayern game, we could have sold out Pittodrie 3 times over that night. It just shows you what a massive support we have. Build it and they will come. Colin Gale says, I couldn't get a ticket for the Bayern Munich game. I was in the living room at home jumping up and down during that magical minute. Rafe65 says, Bayern and Watershire were incredible nights. Atmosphere was incredible on both nights. Scott McLean said, I was at the Watershire game. Screw the boys brigade for that one. Brilliant. There's a lot more comments still coming in about yesterday's game. Richard Wilkinson says, summer recruitment will be interesting, yes, but it'll be more interested to see in who's leaving, not only who's coming in. Graham Gibb said, interesting point about the pitch yesterday. The day we were away to St Mirren and the roads were treacherous, St Johnstone were at home to Killy, snow had to be cleared and the pitch has never recovered. Musical Box says, I feel our players should be encouraged to play to their strengths rather than always pass to whoever is easy. Right, guys, so that's about us. Thank you so much for watching, as always. So we've got a little bit of a break now, obviously until the Motherwell game, which I'm going to. Can't wait. So I'm going to have to try and work out when I'm going to do the preview show, because I'm hoping to fly into Aberdeen a week on Wednesday. So, yeah, I'm going to try and work out what I'm going to do. But don't worry, I will bring you a show. It won't be on the Friday night, because obviously we'll be at Ardo. But somehow we'll manage to get a show to you. But what I'm aiming to do in the next few days is sort of do a catch-up show, like a magazine-type show, so that, you know, we continue to bring content to you. And just keep an eye out on my social, so when we'll put that out, I'll probably put it out at the end of the week. I don't want to get in the road of the Scotland games, but I'll definitely aim to get a show out quite soon. So thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you for your comments. In fact, come on. I always do this time of night, don't I? Don't forget to like if you've enjoyed the show. Thanks for all your comments. It's great to have so many of you on. And don't forget to subscribe. You know, we continue to build. We're doing okay. Really want to get to 5,000. That's the big milestone for us. It's going to be a bit of a push, but I think we can get there. So don't forget to subscribe. Do you know what? There's a few more comments coming in. You're all talking about Simon Murray. Good player, to be fair. Right, guys, so enjoy your week. Take good care of yourselves. And I'll see you again very soon. Keep an eye on my socials so when we'll do another show. Take care. Stand free.